Alrighty then, doing this video in my car today. So I watched the Lindsey Williams DVD, and it is essentially the same as the last DVD. And you'll know the DVD before that was the same as the DVD before that and that. 3 DVDs. So we're starting to see a pattern here, which I've already discussed. And I feel like what I'm about to read you is, or not is, but may be confirmation that I just don't think he has an elite friend anymore. That when Ken Fromm died in 2012, and I've said this numerous times, that was it. The data from him has not been right since that man died. Okay? You'll recall a couple years ago, he talked about this 171 or something countries where they had an agreement, and whichever country had the most assets would be the most well off, but they already had this agreement. It was essentially getting rid of their currencies and starting over kind of a thing. That never happened. End of 2015, we were supposed to crash the markets. That didn't happen. Might have been divine intervention, might not have been divine intervention. They're going to try like hell at the end of 2016 to do the same thing. They're hell-bent to doing it this time. Never happened again. We're now in 2017. It has not happened. And the last video he did after Trump was elected, of course, was him saying, you know, that wasn't really supposed to happen. The elite don't know what to do now. But in this video, I'm pretty sure he said that he said Trump would be elected, and he said Trump was going to win. I'm like, wait a minute. I don't recall him saying that. One thing I recall him saying was that the elite do not want Trump to win under any circumstances. They must have Hillary in there. And that if it looks like he's going to win, remember that? If it looks like he's going to win, and they realize, okay, he's going to win, we may see a false flag event type of a thing happen. That never happened. So, if I didn't have so many people viewing these Lindsey Williams videos of mine, I probably would have stopped by now. But everybody, no matter what the information is, apparently still want to know. So that's why I went and got the video. The DVD. Let me just read this. This is not going to be long. So it's essentially why the whole video is why the elite changed their agenda. Why did they do it? And their agenda being the big crash, everything like that, that was part of their agenda. But not now. Okay? Trump has no baggage and cannot be bribed, and these people know that. He said they were, you know, some of them can easily offer somebody fame. Well, he's already famous. They could offer them lots of money. He's already got lots of money. He's got, you know, they can't offer him anything. He has no baggage. Can't bribe him. Can't blackmail him. They have a new agenda for at least the next 8 years. They don't want to destroy America. They do not want rioting, like he's been saying. They don't want rioting. They want control of America and the world. And by the way, he says George Soros, is not one of the elite. The protests sponsored by him will stop in the near future, he says. This is just a little, again, just leftists, liberals, kicking, screaming, stomping their feet, but essentially it'll be over. Which I actually said that myself recently. Like, you know, this will be old news in a little bit. They're not going to keep this crap up. They never do. Trump will drain the swamp, and he knows who the elite, are, according to Lindsey. Trump will not come to their rescue. The elite knew Hillary would. When the big crash happens, they'll be bailed out again, etc., made whole. But they understand Trump will not do that. which is why they had to change their agenda. They cannot afford to have a financial collapse, as it would devastate them personally. His elite friend said God intervened. The collapse has been delayed for as long as possible. It will come, but they don't want it to happen soon. And then he said it could happen within 6 months to 8 years. I gotta say, that's not the kind of info we have got from Lindsey in the past. When he said in 4 to 5 months from now, the Middle East, one by one, are going to have a little social media, whatever, uprising, and out of the uprising, we are going to give each and every one of the countries that he named specifically in order to the Muslim Brotherhood. And while I sat back and watched that, in order, the same order he gave, Muslim Brotherhood got that one, Egypt, Muslim Brotherhood got that one, Yemen, Muslim Brotherhood got Libya, holy crap. And then they were supposed to go after Syria. And they tried, as you saw, we've been trying. Hasn't been working out. So their agenda got stopped. However, he did nail it. That was also before Mr. Ken Fromm died. When I hear it could happen within 6 months to 8 years, I gotta say that bothers me. Bothers me to the level of, I don't know if I can believe anything from Lindsey Williams anymore. This is like the 5th video in a row in which things he said just didn't happen. And I understand the elite don't get everything they want, but damn it, they get most of what they want almost all the time. So for him to come out and say a bunch of different things, none of which have happened ever since his friend Ken Fromm died, I have to fully agree with my inner self, if you will. He don't have an elite friend anymore. It's gone. There's no way. Because during this conversation or this video, he mentioned, I've been studying, or something like, I've been studying or finding the best news information I could possibly get for this DVD or something like that. Well, what do you mean? You only need one source, your elite friend. And he went on to quote news articles. And then he had a guy come on, the same guy I think that was on last time, Mr. Financial Advisor, who's essentially reading a script. About China. And spent like 20 minutes or so, at least, talking about China. Nothing really, they were talking about the SDR and how China's currency got added last year, and that's supposed to have been a big deal, but it's not really a big deal, and nothing really happened. It just shows, China's a big player now, but, okay, so then why are we talking about this for 20-something minutes? There was no, moral to that story, really. Other than, the U.S. dollar supposedly is going to remain the reserve currency for a while longer. Well, it already is the world reserve currency. And I would assume it would last a while longer myself, regardless of what China did or didn't do. It's not going to stay that way. We know that, but, the Fed will increase rates, interest rates, of course, and watch the derivatives markets, he says. Housing prices will come down. Boeing and Caterpillar will be coming back to America. Because if we're going to have this massive infrastructure project, equipment's going to be needed. And according to him, so Caterpillar, they're going to sway them to come back to America to supply all this new equipment to all the work that has to be done to fix America's infrastructure. I would argue there's plenty of companies already out there, construction companies or whatever, that have their equipment that can, get to work right away if they just got the contracts. But whatever, that's what he said. The USD is still the best of the worst currencies. I wrote my little note here. What the Webbot is suggesting the next few years will look like is night and day from what Lindsey is suggesting. The U.S. dollar will remain the reserve currency of the world. He said the elite want and will push for gold and silver prices to remain stable. So that doesn't mean a skyrocketing. That means they should stay stable. The elite have decided not to fight Donald Trump. Soros and the liberal media will continue to fight him, but not the elite. And Soros is not the elite. So that's the end of my notes. He's again said in that video, you know, you have an opportunity to invest in some of these companies that are going to be making America great again. He never once said, well, you know, the stock market's at an all-time high and should probably crash because it's a massive bubble. You know, the country has $10 trillion in debt, and Donald Trump's about to spend trillions more. You know, a lot of the fundamental issues that are there that are staring us all in the face, nope. According to Lindsey, don't worry about it. Life is going to be good again. Invest in these companies. You can make money, he says. Picking the right companies. You know, he said, you know, you just got to be smart with what you're doing. But a company that's, you know, going to help rebuilding America, that might be a good, you know, essentially a good one to get into. That sort of thing is what he was suggesting. But, and to an extent, that could be right. You know, you invest in the right company because something's about to happen that's going to benefit that company, sure. But who the hell knows which specific company that's going to be? I mean, because he got Ford to stay back in America, and GM and Fiat Chrysler, all that crap, you know, where they're going to start building their cars, we've got manufacturing plants coming back to America, there still has to be demand. There has to be demand for all these cars, for example. And these are the three big auto industry, right? Behemoths. I'm doing videos here almost daily, like I just did yesterday, about the poor auto industry. Default rates are up. There's massive stockpiles of new cars. Like, okay, so we brought these guys back. There still has to be demand. You can't make demand come back. How do you make demand come back from the people who are already in debt up to their ears, maxed out all their credit cards, thought they'd skate through the last 8 years, oh, recovery, when I finally get my recovery, my piece of the pie, I'll start paying this debt off, only to find out debt is worse than it's ever been. Corporate debt, 3 times higher, I just did the video, 3 times higher than a few years ago. Or several years ago, whatever. It's 3 times higher. Student loan debt, 1.4 trillion approximately. Again, the car loans, that industry is like coming right in, you know, right behind it. So again, I've said why I want America to be made great again, as Donald Trump said, and I agree with the slogan. Let's do it. Let's make it great again. But you got to have supply and demand. And if the demand is coming from the people who have to have a certain credit score and have to have certain numbers of money in their freaking bank account that they don't have, because as I've been showing you the other data, almost everybody in America is like one paycheck away from destruction. Paycheck to paycheck, one thing out of left field and they're finished. Miss work for a few weeks or something, you're done. You know, you're finished, homeless practically. That doesn't sound like a good person I'd want to give a bunch of money to. That's very unstable. Yet the banks, of course, they don't really have a choice. We got to lend to somebody or we don't make money. So they're lending. And again, people are defaulting. Defaults are coming back again. Bankruptcies are coming back again on all-time high, not all-time highs, but the trend has changed. They're going back up again. Both corporate and individual bankruptcies. Is that going to spur growth? They're going to go out and buy new cars now? Oh, I'm bankrupt. Let me go buy, you know, can I get a car loan? I mean, none of this was mentioned. Lindsey is suggesting that America is about to become great again. It really is, and capitalize, invest in some of these companies that stand to do the best, which he doesn't say because he doesn't know, of course. But if he knew an elite friend, he probably would be able to know, you know, and he would be able to tell him, yeah, these companies, these are some of our companies. We're gonna, maybe he could mention that, but no. 6 to 8 months. The collapse has been deferred for as long as possible. It will come, but they don't want it to happen soon because they'll be affected and they know they won't get bailed out by Trump. It could be 6 months to 8 years. That's a pretty wide range of time. 6 months from now to 8 years. Donald Trump's end of his second term if he had to. So that's it. That's the update. That's the Lindsey Williams DVD. I hope I get enough views on this video to pay me back for this freaking DVD. The advertising revenue. I hope I make enough advertising revenue to pay me back for this DVD. $52 with shipping or something like that. 52, 53 bucks. I would never spend 30 or 40 bucks on a DVD or movie or documentary or anything. But I do it on here because my subscribers want the information regardless of what it is. And by the way, if he still had his elite friend like Ken Fromm, I'd be buying these $50 DVDs with a smile on my face and reporting to you everything the man said, because be rest assured, by the next time I did another DVD that he, summary that he did, I'd be telling you, oh, by the way, he got that right, he got that right, he said that was going to happen, it looks like they're being pushed back on that one, but these two things have happened. Exactly when he said. I'd be able to do that, because that's how it was in the past. Not anymore. And it has not been up to par with how it was when Ken Fromm was alive. Again, it is my personal opinion that he does not, under any circumstances, have an elite friend left. If he does, this person is giving him the most false, wrong information known to mankind. That's my opinion. Why? Because nothing he's talked about over the last few years has happened. And again, he says in the same DVD here, watch the derivatives. The Federal Reserve is going to raise interest rates. If the Federal Reserve raises interest rates, the markets are not going to be happy with that. The bond markets, mainly the stock market especially, they're not going to be happy with high interest rates. The savers will, the pensioners will, but not the rest of us. He talked about one thing in China that, I think it was when that guy was talking, which he made a good point on, was, China had this one-child policy. You're a family, a husband and wife, you can have one child, that's the law, that's the rule, that's it. Because there's so many people in China, the population is 1.234 trillion, I think it's 1.4, or billion, excuse me. I think it's 1.4 billion now. And it's just slightly bigger than the United States. And he was saying, multiply the United States by 4 times, basically, and you got what they have over there. That's massive. But he said, look, if you have this policy in play for a long time, which they have, where only one child's allowed to be born, he said they just reversed it in 2016, I believe, last year. So now you can have more than one child. The problem is this issue that it has created is it's too late. It's done. It's finished. And that is, you have a bunch of young people, not even a bunch, excuse me, a lot less young people, because one child policy, they're now growing up, let's say, and they have to pay for retirement, Social Security type of stuff, whatever their system is in China, for the older folks, who is both a husband and a wife. So the single, young, one-person child now foots the bill for 2 parents of somebody's, down the line. And just like all of them. So all of the one-child people are growing up, getting jobs, etc., and now having to foot the bill for not only everything happening at that point, which includes paying for government, because your money, tax dollars, pays for government employees, which means some of those one-child people are actually in the government, so you're paying for them to be there, taxes for them, and taxes and everything else for the 2 parents above you, if you will. Maybe not necessarily your parents, but someone's parents, because again, it's the same policy. 2 parents for every 1 child. You have a tiny pool of payers and an enormous pool of elderly. Somebody tell me how that is going to go well. And if China goes crazy down the tubes, epic failure, are we to believe that the United States all of a sudden is just going to be one hell of a powerhouse and everything's going to be peachy over here? Because we kind of have a similar problem. It's not exactly the same. We didn't have a one-child rule, but we did have baby boomer thing, and there's a lot less of us in the workforce these days than that are retiring. So we kind of have a similar problem, not to the extent of China. So I have to ask, how does this make America look like we're just going to be great, back to square one, This debt that we've accumulated, these epic proportions, has only been in the last few decades. Call it 30, 40 years max. Prior to that, man, it wasn't hardly bad at all. Now it's out of control. It's insane. We have these things called derivatives now, which are bets on other bets, like leverage and, hundreds of trillions of dollars or more of these things. And because Donald Trump wants to make America great again, and the left can't stand him, they want him out as soon as possible. My thought was they're going to definitely push this crash so that he doesn't get a second term. He'll be left holding the bag. Have a nice day. The argument could be made, and I've mentioned this, Donald Trump wants the collapse to happen right away. Get it done now so that I can spend the next 4 years, right? Or let's just say it happens this year, the next 3 years of his presidency, fixing the problem and showing everyone this is what was handed to me. I'm an expert in bankruptcy, and I handled it. Now we rebuild. Now we make America great again. I'm glad to have you on the team. Next 3 years, wow, he really did what he said. He's going to get elected again. However, if the next 3 years goes by and we just skate by and I'm out here doing videos for the next 4 years, silver's still $18, $19, I finally hit 20. Gold's $1,300. And then they crash it right before election, he's not going to get reelected. There's no chance. But if Lindsey's right in that they don't want to crash because it'll affect them too, he's not going to bail them out, then they, between a rock and a hard place, so to speak. But again, if you're the elite, all you have to do, because he said it even in the video, he said, remember, the elite told me gold and silver is money, that's their money. And I thought about that too while he was talking. I said to myself, well, if gold and silver is money and they know this, and they're the ones who told him that long ago, why would they be concerned about anything crashing? They could just dump all their money in gold and silver and then sit back, let the crash happen, gold and silver skyrocket, they sell off all their gold and silver at the high like they always do, and then they're back in business with whatever comes next. Although you could argue, well, what about all their banking companies and their financial institutions, all this crap? They don't want to have to lose that and bankrupt those things, and right? And they would need the government to step in and bail them out so that they could scoop up all the other ones that failed for pennies on the dollar like they always do. And according to him, Trump's not down with that, so they won't do that. But at the same time, we have all these issues that have to be dealt with. So, again, if I were to read the Webbot report again, side by side with this, we're in two different planets. The future of two different planets, okay? And the Webbot, especially recently, has had a pretty good track record. Lindsey Williams for the last 2 to 3 years at least. Pretty bad track record. And I've been following it. I'm always fair about that. And I will refer back from time to time. Oh, yeah, Lindsey Williams said this. And a lot of times when I say that, yeah, he said that when Ken Fromm was alive. That's how long ago he said it. So I do refer to him sometimes to let people know he got it right, and that's why I'm saying this now. But you're not going to catch me referring to something he said after that and then standing by it like it's true, because there hasn't been anything. So I have to report what I have to report. And if it was something that sounded good and made sense and sounds like, okay, he's got his elite friends definitely back, then I would have a little different tone right now. It's not the case. I don't know that I'm going to buy another DVD from Lindsey Williams, to be honest with you. I don't know if I'm going to. He did say a couple months ago, by January, February, I'll have another DVD out for sure. For my elite friend, I'll know exactly what's going to happen. That's what he said in the last DVD. I'm going to wait, and by that time, I'll know what's going to happen. So just 2 months ago, I did a DVD review summary of him. And here's just like he said, here's the other one by the end of January time frame or so. Here it is. And nothing in here said my elite friend said absolutely XYZ. 6 months to 8 years we could have a crash. Every 7 years there's always a downfall. There's always been one. So some are worse than others. Well, you could easily hit that by saying 6 months to 8 years. Not only that, we could have a crash now, this year, he'll be right, 6 months. And then 7 years from now, another one comes, he'll be right again. Because he's spread that giant cast net so far, so to speak. So, And you know, I do have his number, but people, well, why don't you just call him and ask him? I'm not going to do that. Because if I say to him, Lindsey, I'll be honest with you, and I'd like to ask you, do you really have an elite friend left? And if yes, is he trustworthy? Because it seems like everything he's told you has been wrong. And if no, what does that mean? And now I have to go out here and tell the whole world, oh, I spoke to Lindsey Williams and he said there's no more elite friend. He's been lying. That's not going to happen. And I don't even want to make that phone call to find out one way or the other. I'm just going to leave it at this. I think I've done enough of these videos in the last few years to know if this guy has had it or doesn't have it, and he does not have it anymore. I love the man for what he's done, the positions he's had throughout his life to be able to meet these people, get the information. It's been some of the best information I've ever received in my life by following this guy up until 2013 and beyond. Unfortunately. That's why I believe he doesn't have the guy. He probably wants to capitalize monetarily by these DVDs these days because he was the single source of all this information for so long, but now it's gone. That would also mean no more DVDs, no more nothing. It's gone. Follow me. So yeah, that's how I'm ending this video. Take care.